you know some creatures around the world that baffle even scientists? Today, we are looking at some of the interesting animals around the world that are yet to be fully studied. Hairy thing on Russia beach. A hairy beast was discovered on the Russian beach that has baffled both the locals and the experts. It was longer than 15 feet, about the length of 3 average men. The creature does not have any head or eyes and is widely covered in fur. A couple of scientists strongly believe that it is a whale that was washed up on the shore, since they might take bizarre appearances, unknown to locals. But another interesting theory was that it could have been a woolly mammoth's fossil melted from the permafrost. There are a lot of speculations, but no answer, and the mystery was put in the other unsolved case files. The sea creature. A father and a son were out boating when they thought they saw a seal. But when they got closer, they realized they had encountered something special. The sea creature was around 4 to 5 feet long, with what looked like a long neck and a couple of fins. A lot of people started speculating, and many of them agreed it looked like a smaller version of the Loch Ness monster. Scientists may not have agreed on that statement, but they also didn't have any definitive answer either. What do you think? Axolotl. Imagine looking at an animal that never grows. That's the axolotl for you. It goes through a process called metamorphosis, but instead of changing into an adult, the larva remains a larva. It is a creature that is stuck in the past and refuses to grow up. Studies have shown that the researchers tried cutting off the parts of the animals that forced them to stay inside water, but the animal simply grew them back. Many theories suggest that it is because the axolotls are best suited in the aquatic environment since there aren't many predators there. When they were forced to become adults, which is possible, the animal passed away fairly quickly and lost its superpower, the ability to regenerate. So, they prefer staying in their old shells, which serves as a better disguise for them. The code for their regeneration powers is yet to be cracked, which is why these animals used to be most studied. When humans grow up, their regeneration genes are silenced, but that is not the case for these animals. But now their population has severely declined, and their secret remains a mystery. Yeti crabs. In the deep sea, thousands of feet away, some crabs came to be known as ghost crabs because of their appearance. But people started calling them the Yeti crabs because of the white fur like that of a Yeti. Since these crabs cannot survive in colder temperatures, they have found the perfect home, hydrothermal vents in the icy ocean. The habitat did surprise the experts, but not as much as something else. The strange thing about them is their fur. The crabs have chelipeds that are covered in chemoautotrophic bacteria. Some scientists think that the two have formed a friendly relationship where they both benefit each other. The crabs help the bacteria make food, and the bacteria give it the energy it needs. But this is all debatable. Other theories claim that fur is simply sensory and helps in locating food. Velvet ants. These insects might be called ants, but they are wingless wasps. Some people call them cow killers because of their painful sting that can last up to 30 minutes. It strikes a pain that may be equivalent to taking the life of a cow, but it doesn't take one. You'll only feel that way. The stingers are only on females and are one of the largest stingers if you take the body ratio into account. But here is why they are not strange. They did not always have a color like that. It evolved into a pale color because the ants needed to survive in the desert. It had nothing to do with camouflage. Secondly, these ants have been around for 1 million years, and it has a lot to do with their defense mechanisms. The ants have a bunch of weapons at bay to strike the offense off its feet. They can put on an unappetizing appearance, release pheromones, and even squeak out warning signals. These signals are picked up by nearby species, and the predators steer clear of the whole colony this way. It is unclear why and how this exactly happens. But studies show that researchers tried to put the known predators near the velvet ants, and they all ended up avoiding it. Only toads were known to eat it, but they spat them out after 20 minutes too. Peculiar, isn't it? Redlipped batfish. From looking as if it is wearing lipstick to putting on a scent to attract its prey, it has a sense of making it attractive. The red-lipped batfish has a striking pair of red lips that has puzzled scientists for years. Many think that it might be to attract mates, but others think that it works as a way to recognize the fish during the mating season. But the real reason remains behind the curtains because no one is sure why they have such a big pout. But that's not where the mystery ends. Even though it lives underwater, it is not the best swimmer. The fish prefers walking on the seabed. Now, it may have adapted the ability because of the animal being a bad swimmer, or it could have been lazy with its fins and they evolved into pedals for walking. However, more research is needed to answer these questions. Siphonophore. This colony of animals works as a single organism taking on different roles. The siphonophores are sometimes thought of as the longest animals in the world. This is because the long ropes they form sometimes stretch beyond the length of a whale. Can you imagine that many people working together in perfect synchronicity? They have long, feather-like tentacles that are different in each species. What's interesting is that the different species eat different animals. They also have a distinctive glow because of the bioluminescence that can help experts separate the species. Some have a blue or green glow, while others have a distinctive reddish-orange glow. It is unclear how a sea creature deep in the ocean was able to form such a complex organism, but it does give an insight into the complex human body as an evolutionist. Mantis shrimp. This animal can pack a punch 50 times faster than humans can blink. You can keep wondering how fast that may be. Even with its powerful punch that sometimes experts term equivalent to a .22 caliber bullet, it is not the strangest thing about it. Their visual system is the most complex in the world, better than that of any other animal. They have 16 photoreceptors and can see UV, visible, and polarized light. Humans only have 3 photoreceptors, plus they can move each eye independently. It helps them perceive depth much better as the eye can focus at one point in space. But why do they even need such a complex system? Some experts think that it may be because of courtship, since there are examples in the animal world where they flash visual signals to attract the opposite gender. The polarized light may be used for mating, but the circularly polarized light is suspected to be used for secret communication. These are still speculations, and a lot of research is needed on the topic. Pangolin. Did you know pangolins are the most trafficked animals? Have you ever heard about them? They are pretty ferocious predators because their prey, the ants, strike little defense against the scaly giant. The ants try to swarm and bite, but the animal's scales rarely allow it to get bitten. Recently, the scientists found another species of the pangolin that was unlike the 8 other species. This animal is far different from its cousins and was found while being trafficked. What's also unclear is where this species is located. Because of the smuggling, its original location remains a mystery and has kept the scientists in a loop of questions about its appearance and behavior. But that's not all that baffles the experts about pangolins. Its mating behavior remains a big secret. The animals are pretty small in number and they like to mate at night, which makes the observing part a bit of a hassle. Nobody can give a clear-cut answer on how they mate since their scales can prove to be a big obstacle. StarShaped Mole. When one sense is taken, creatures often have another sense that is heightened. The same goes for this animal. It is practically blind, but its nose serves as the weapon it needs to hunt for its next meal. Our fingertips are known to be quite sensitive. But the nose of this animal is 100 times more sensitive than that. But that is not what has gotten the scientists on the edge. These animals can blow a bubble into the water that can capture scent particles. Their nose allows them to inhale that bubble without breaking it. Once it does, it can follow the smell of its prey. It is one of the only two animals to have this ability, and this is why experts are desperate to crack the code. If they can figure out how they do it, engineers can design machinery that can detect contamination in deep water or even in the atmosphere. Eye. The eye is one of the spookiest yet cutest animals to roam Earth. Eye was considered to be an evil animal among locals, but nobody speaks about why they think like that. But that isn't what troubles scientists. These animals have a creepy middle finger that helps them hunt for grubs inside trees. They tap on the trees up to 8 times per second using their fingers and can rotate about 360 degrees. The sudden knock may prove to be pretty deadly for the grubs. Due to its unique features, nobody can quite place eye in the evolutionary tree. It is strange because the woodpecker has a similar hunting tactic, but it is far different from the eye that is a lemur. They both evolved differently, but to do the same thing. It remains a mystery to be unraveled. Leafy Sea Dragon. These animals are masters of hiding in plain sight. Leafy sea dragon animals have a look that makes them appear as seaweeds. Plus, they are very slow swimmers. This allows them to mimic the movement of the plants under the sea, fooling the predators. What's interesting is that the sea dragons may never be found if you aren't trained to track them down. The sea dragons have a pretty long snout when compared with their cousins. Plus, it has these bony scales that serve as its armor if a predator somehow finds them. These are some of the many features that separate it from other species. But sea dragons have something else that is rather weird: their junk DNA. Scientists believe that this animal has a set of DNA called the junk DNA. It is a repetitive code that prevents the animal from developing some key traits. Yet the answer remains pretty vague because the animal seems to be thriving underwater. Fanged Deers. The Siberian musks are an evolutionary marvel. In the past, deer used to have both fangs and antlers. They used to add up to the beauty of the deer, although neither of them is used in a physical fight. But the deers do pull out their sharp fangs during the mating season, trying to pick on a weak deer and take it down to impress the females. While some deers lost their fangs as they evolved, others kept them and came to be known as fanged deers. But what's strange is that experts cannot figure out why the antlers stayed if both fangs and antlers were part of the same ordeal: to intimidate other males and to stand on a ground of dominance. Similarly, it isn't clear why this deer species lost their horns. Mudskippers. Science always thought fishes lived in the sea, but then this strange creature came along, making people scratch their heads. The obvious name can give you a little sneak peek into the bizarre nature of this animal. These mudskippers can walk or skip from the water and onto the land. Walking on land isn't the only thing they do, they can even climb up on trees. But it is not the strangest thing about them. It is known that they spend more time on land than they do in the water. It is not because they like to hop on for an adventure on the magical land. Instead, the fish might drown if it spends too much time in water. These fishes evolved around millions of years ago and have gone through the worst of conditions to be here today. It is believed that they can build burrows in the mud with little pockets of air. These small oxygen pockets can help them survive through droughts for decades. It is probably how they survive for millions of years, but nobody quite knows for sure. The problematic thing is that this fish has a mosaic of wacky traits that makes it hard to fit it on the evolutionary table. the huge carcass. On the beaches of Indonesia, locals found a giant creature spitting out red vomit. While science did have an answer, it was hanging by threads. When the locals found the creature, they thought it was a boat. But the giant blob, stretching to over 50 feet, looked nothing like a boat upon closer inspection. The scientists were left puzzled. But then, the results came, and they started shouting plausible answers. The carcass was believed to be of a baleen whale that was in an advanced state of decomposition. As for the red fluid, it is blood and grease from the inside of the whale. They think that it passed away weeks or even months ago, but what they didn't know was how. Tarsiers. What you're looking at is the only carnivorous primate that can fit in the palm of your hand. For years, they were believed to be not vocal, but scientists secretly thought that they made high-pitched noises. Their suspicion turned out to be true. It is interesting because the vocal range of these small animals is quite extensive. They can chirp, whistle, trill, and even produce a clicking sound. Scientists believe that these vocals may be to warn or to mate. They speak in a secret language that goes unnoticed by most animals and humans alike. The tarsiers do something special called the duet calling. They last about 13 seconds to 204 seconds, which allows the animal to brag about its singing, much like the peacock flexing its feathers. Japanese spider crabs. Although they are called spiders, these crabs only look like spiders, but they aren't one. Although the crab does live deep underwater, it does come out into the shallow waters for breeding. But that is not the kind of news that worries scientists. They are more focused on its secrets. The animal's legs are quite massive, making it the largest crab in the world with a leg span of nearly 13 feet long. Imagine a spider-like crab crawling in your home. They keep growing even after the animal has turned into an adult. They can even survive if they are missing a few legs, helping them inch closer to living 50 to 100 years of life. All these unique characteristics raise a lot of questions and make this animal a strong subject for study. Frigate Bird. The bird that spends most of its life flying over the ocean to feed on prey never lands on the water, even though its feet are webbed. This is because the frigate bird may be the only seabird whose feathers aren't waterproof. So, it stays above the ocean, and when the food gets harder to hunt, it becomes a pirate that would rather steal the meals from other birds. This stealing maneuver doesn't come easy either. They practice it from a young age, and a duo practices this skill to perfect their hunt. Because of this characteristic, the bird has one of the largest wingspans, stretching to over 7 feet. This helps them stay in the air for several days and nights. Their longest record is well over 2 months, but if that's the case, when do they even sleep or rest? Scientists used to think they sleep while flying, and they weren't wrong about that. The birds take a maximum 1-hour break throughout the day in 10-second bursts where half of their brains are wide awake. Usually this happens when predators lurk nearby, but that is not the case with frigate birds who sleep at night. Strange Australian creature. Australia is home to many bizarre creatures, but this find is pretty wild. This creature was washed up on the shores, looking all battered. But what exactly was it? We aren't sure to this day. It has a long tail like a rodent, but hands like a human. The creature is suspected to have fur, but most of it was gone. The animal had a ferocious-looking jaw that looked like it gobbled something up in seconds. Plus, it has long, pointy ears like a cat and feet with a clawless thumb. The museum thought it was a possum, while an expert thought it could have been an African rat, but nobody quite knows if it is the truth. Dumbo octopus. These animals are named after the ever-popular cartoon Dumbo. Just like the animated character, this animal can flap its fins that look like ears on its head and swim. The animal lives deep inside the ocean. about 9,000 to 13,000 feet, with little food and no light. It begs the question of how they have managed to survive in the rough conditions. But a puzzling feature of this animal that raises a lot of questions is its hunting tactics. There are the numerous muscular projections found in between each sucker of their arms. Nobody knows what they are there for. Experts think it may be used for hunting down prey. But that's another secret that baffles the scientists. It is unclear how this animal catches prey. What did you think about these strange animals? Do you have a favorite? Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up icon and subscribe to our channel. We have a lot more exciting videos coming in for you, so stay tuned and thanks for watching.